Hello everybody, it's Tommy and welcome to another Creative Sim for the Disney Save. Today is the final installment in the Lilo and Stitch saga of videos that we've done for the Disney Save. These are bonus characters for the save file. So these are my gallery exclusive additional bonus Lilo and Stitch characters that didn't make it into the Townie cut or the regular residential Sims families cut, but I feel like a lot of people requested them, asked for them, wanted some of these. I saw them in the suggestions of I hoped I see this when I was doing builds and other videos, or my patrons had recommended certain characters. Things that I think that are just interesting and fun and would be good additions to the game, but I don't really have the space for them in the save file, so I have to cut and save a little bit of room. Now we're starting out the video with the Ice Cream Man. He is a side character that you see a couple times in the movie. He's just literally holding an ice cream cone. He has a horrible sunburn, which I did not implement in the video because it does require you to actually go into the game and do the whole sunburn thing, but I'm hoping that I can either put the sunburn on him and then upload him to the gallery, or you'll at least get this version and then you could do it yourself. I'm also including in today's video Mrs. Hasegawa. She is a shopkeeper that Nani tries to work for when she's looking for jobs. There's like a whole montage of her going to different locations trying out jobs, and that's one of the characters that she comes across. And then we have a couple of pets to go alongside Stitch for some additional characters and friends and experiments to add to the save that can be kind of companions to him. Now, when it comes to actually deciding who is going to be in the save file, the very top tier is always going to be Sims that actually live in the houses in the save. Those are like your residential family Sims, the big characters, the main characters. Those are usually pretty easy to pick out. Sometimes it's hard because I feel like there's a lot of different movies that could fit really well into one world, so you have to kind of decide, are we just not going to do that movie at all, or are we going to save that for a later world, or are we going to hope that we get another world that looks similar enough to whatever one I'm currently working on that that theme will fit in a future world, kind of a deal. So that's like the top tier. And then we have Townies. Townies are Sims that I need them in the background because they're kind of important to the story, but maybe they're not like a main character. Maybe they fit or can fill an NPC role, which is the game's different roles when you go to like a given location and you maybe go to a bar and you need like a bartender to spawn on the lot, or you go to a restaurant and you need waitresses and you need chefs. The game needs characters to fill those roles. So I try to think about what characters are side or background characters that I can put in the save, and they can be Townies. It doesn't really matter that they don't have a home because they're not really super important, but maybe people would like to see them, or they're important to the storyline of the main characters, so you want them kind of walking around in the background to be able to play that character's story. And then we have bonus Sims, and those are really the ones that they have almost no lines. They are super background characters. Like, you might even see them in one or two scenes at all. Most people who are not super fans of that given film probably won't even know who they are, and so my concern usually is I don't want a bunch of random Sims walking around in the background of your save file. I want everything to be very intentional, and I always picture people playing and I want them to kind of like see characters in the back and be like, oh my god, that's so-and-so. And then it gets to a point where you get to these like really obscure Disney characters, and that element of the playability kind of, you lose that a little bit. Like, not everybody is going to know who the ice cream guy is from Lilo and Stitch or Mrs. Hasegawa. However, for this specific video, I did sort of realize when I was trying to pick out who was going to be a Lilo and Stitch Townie versus who was going to be a bonus character, there were so many characters that we could have gone with, and I could use a lot of those like weird Lilo and Stitch background characters to be NPC fillers when I don't otherwise have any. So a really good example is actually, there's the scene where Nani is trying to find a job, and she at one point tries out to be a lifeguard, and there's a couple lifeguards that get shown in some of the scenes from the film. We actually need some lifeguards to fill roles in Sulani, and so I might have to go back and make like that lifeguard from that scene to fill that role later on. And I was also thinking that Mrs. Hasegawa might be a good character for like an NPC shopkeeper role or market stall owner if there is a role like that. I'm not 100% sure of all the NPC roles off the top of my head, so you may very well end up seeing some of today's characters in the updated version of the save file. It kind of has an asterisk on it, as well as some additional ones that just won't ever get videos made out of them because I am ready to move on from Lilo and Stitch. But it's kind of like the perfect film to fill some of those roles that we otherwise wouldn't be able to, or would just be a little bit more difficult to do so. So there may be more Lilo and Stitch characters, but I am done with the videos for now. Now, two other characters that I decided to make were pet versions of Angel, who is kind of Stitch's girlfriend, and Reuben, a character that is also an experiment. I believe he falls numerically right before Stitch, and he's kind of like a lazy but smarter Stitch, if I remember correctly. He actually lives with Gantu, so there's a possibility, again, that I could move some of these Sims into my actual new version of the save, but I don't really know for sure. Now, I decided to go with pet versions instead of doing the alien human version because if you remember from my other Lilo and Stitch Create a Sim, when I actually made Stitch, I did two versions. A lot of people wanted a human playable version of Stitch, and so when I made that, I knew that for the save file, I probably was going to be putting in the pet version. I just like the way that it looks a little bit better. It's my preference, so I'm going to be probably by default having the download come with the pet version. So I figured if I was going to be adding a few more experiments and having Stitch have a girlfriend that you could additionally download, I probably would also just use the pet versions. I did use Stitch's base as the starter for Angel. However, she's a lot more feminine looking. She's got like little eyelashes, a skinnier build, some more curves to her. She did start as Stitch, and it's the same sort of mixed breed that I went with, but I tried to tone back some of like the thickness of her and make her a little bit more feminine and thinned out and have some of those like features that are prominent on her version, because she's not just exactly like a clone of Stitch. She has different markings, she has different antennas, she's just shaped slightly differently. They do look very similar, however, so I can't get away with using the same base. As well as Reuben. The three of them as like a set are kind of like all the same breed of alien or very similar. There were some slight differences. I think Reuben has different ears and is a little bit just slightly different looking in the face, but using the Stitch starter base was really like a very easy way to go from there. Now, I talked about this a little bit in the last video, but I wanted to make it more clear that one of my more immediate plans for the future of the save is to get a new version out available for download for everyone. A lot of people, I think, get a little bit confused about why I haven't had a new version available for a really long time. If you're someone that just stumbles across one of my videos here and there, or you maybe don't watch consistently, you probably have no idea kind of what's going on. Really, to be honest with you guys, what kind of scared me into doing this, I was on TikTok late one night when I was back home in the US, and I saw it, to my horror, but also to my excitement, because you just never really think that these things are going to happen until they do. I was scrolling through my TikTok and someone was live streaming my save file, and I knew immediately it was my save. The way I just got this feeling of like, oh no, because it's such a scary thing, right? Like, no one knew I was there, no one knew who I was, that I'm the creator, and I just like clicked on the live and I'm sitting there kind of quietly watching, and it's a really good way for me to like see what people have to say without them knowing that I will see it, which is like kind of an interesting concept, right? But then people started talking and everybody was very kind, and like a lot of people were asking about the save and about different things, and there were definitely some patrons in the comments. Like, I saw you guys talking, I saw people talking, which was really cool to see, and I was just quietly sitting there watching. But there was a lot of misinformation, like people saying that basically you had to be a patron in order to get the save file, which wasn't true. It's never been true and it never will be true, or that I'm working on like Lilo and Stitch characters right now, and so those are available for people to download right now, which is not a true thing. I don't release my downloads any earlier for patrons, or it's not one of my available perks. So when something is live, it's live for everybody. My Patreon is really just for people to support my time. The only thing that they get that's a little bit sooner is like sneak peeks and behind the scenes, and then sometimes if bigger videos come out or something really exciting is coming out, obviously they're the first ones to see it, hear about it, know about it. And then she had an older version that she was live streaming and playing with, and there were some issues with it because it hasn't been updated in a while, and I felt really bad because she's trying to do her live stream and play the game and play the characters, and obviously it's my work and I want everyone to have a good experience with it, and I don't want anyone to think it's like a broken save, because it's not. It just needs an update. So I really decided it's time for me to sit down and revamp the save to get it all up to date, and then we'll be good to go to move on to future worlds, and that is the future of the save file. And so that's kind of my plan. We are going to be finishing Sulani, of course. I will be announcing what the new world will be so that we can start planning for patrons specifically, but I do and am planning on working on a new version for download very shortly here in the future. Of course, all of the builds will go up live on the gallery much sooner than that, so if you're looking for one of my Sulani builds or sims, they should be available in the next couple of days or weeks here, depending on how new or how old it is. And that's the plan and the end of today's video. I hope you guys are excited for the next thing we're going to be working on for the save file, which is actually going to be Pirates of the Caribbean. So stay tuned for the next video. It will be a speed build for a rental lot that we have coming up. If you'd like to support the Disney Save on Patreon, you can do so by clicking the link in my description box down below or the one at the end of the video. Thank you so much for watching, and I will talk to you all in the next one.